5:30, so we'll call to order this meeting for Monday, September 25th. Jordan, would you start us off with a roll call?
Please respond by stating present. Councilmember Ronayne.
Present.
Volberg.
Present.
Liebelt.
Present.
Reif. Johnson. Reinbold.
Present.
Langer. Norvstrup.
Present.
Mayor Schoeneman.
Present. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, I would take a motion to approve this week's agenda. However, I do have a notification of a request to add a consent agenda item, which would be the printed copy in front of you. Will need to create a brand new meeting on our day off, October 9th, in order to approve the Downtown Association's Brew Walk, and we will backfill that meeting with some discussion about various employee positions while we're all assembled. If someone would entertain that motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion from Councilman Reinbold, second from Councilman Norvstrup. That is for the agenda as printed with the addition of the language that Jordan had distributed before relating to that additional meeting. So all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next, we've got the approval of the minutes from our previous meeting, which took place last Monday, September 18th. Would someone care to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Councilman Liebelt, second, Councilman Reinbold. Any changes or additions that we might need to include onto those minutes before we make our approval? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. I didn't see anyone signed up on our open forum, so we will move along to our consent calendar where we've got 5 items of routine city business to be approved here tonight.
Is it 5 items plus the addition, Mayor?
Oh, I guess it would be. So 6 items in total. That's where we'll slip in the that special meeting notice.
Then I would move to approve with the additional notice of hearing.
Thank you, Rob.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Ronayne and a second from Councilman Norvstrup. Once again, we've got the 5 printed items, and then we've got the notice for that special meeting, which will take place on October 9th at 5:30 here in the chambers. All in favor, please say aye.
Mr. Mayor,
Oh, go ahead.
is the meeting on the 9th or 10th? Because the 9th is Native American Day, so I didn't know if you noticed that.
Do we have
I
a,
did not notice that, but we could change that to the 10th.
is that a city holiday?
Yes. I think it is. I don't know for sure.
Good catch.
All right. Rob, would you care to adjust your motion to make note of that, that date change for us?
Yes, I would. I would move to approve the consent calendar with the addition of the notice of hearing, which would now be noticed for October 10 at 5:30, which I understand is a special meeting.
All right, I've got a motion from Councilman Ronayne, second from Councilman Norvstrup. Any other questions or changes? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Good catch, David. Appreciate that. Could have been troublesome. Moving along to new business, we've got our possible first reading of an ordinance titled 230903, which supplements the 2023 budget for various Parks, Rec, and Forestry Department activities. Jordan, what can you tell us about that ordinance?
Thank you, Mayor. This is a routine transfer we do for moving cash around within the Parks and Rec operating funds.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second.
A motion, Councilman Reinbold, second, Councilman Liebelt. Any discussion from the council as it relates to this ordinance? All right, Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote on the first reading, please?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Boberg,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norvstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shonneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Next, we've got a possible approval of 2023 budgeted transfers. Once again, Jordan, what have you got?
Thank you, Mayor. As you know, the budget that we approve provides for many operating transfers in order to move funds from one fund to another. This will allow us to transfer various amounts of cash within the 2023 operating budget. We're a little late in the year, but there's really no deadline other than the end of the year, so we're requesting approval to perform those transfers.
I'll move it.
Second.
Motion, Councilman Ronayne, second, Councilman Reinbold. Any questions for for Mr. McMillan over there?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
I was just curious what PRF capital project is.
The PRF Capital Project Fund is the fund that we transfer special sales tax contributions to for Parks and Rec projects that last beyond 1 year. So things like trails, multi-year park projects, those are the types of things that would occur within the Parks and Rec Capital Project Fund.
All right, if nothing else, then Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote on that transfer?
Councilmember Norvstrup,
Aye.
Langer. Looks like we lost her. Councilmember Reinbold,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Boberg,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Mayor Shonneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Next, we've got our possible approval of payment title number 1 in the amount of $102,045.60 to CDJ Electric Plumbing and Heating for the replacement of the chiller in our city hall. And here to tell us about that is Mr. Stu Nelson. Stu.
Yeah, that's just was completed here recently. The chiller's working very well. Kind of quite an upgrade from our previous old system, which was a holdover from before we did the remodel in 2013. So it was well overdue to have that replaced. And just kind of an interesting side note, they came in on a evening on a, I forget what night that was, Robin.
Tuesday night at 4:30.
And they had it done by about 9:30. It was quite an undertaking, so they did a great job for us. Really didn't miss a beat as far as keeping the building cool, so worked out really well.
I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Norvstrup and a second from Councilman Ronayne. Does anyone have any questions for Public Works Director Mr. Nelson? All right, that one will be easy then. Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote on that approval of payment?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Boberg,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer, Norvstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shonneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Next, we've got a possible approval of a joint funding payment per agreement with the USGS for water resource investigation. And once again, Mr. Nelson.
So we have a number of gauges on the streams around Aberdeen to help with monitoring, especially during flooding. And those gauges provide us with very valuable information and helps us with our ability to predict when or how big of a crest you might see on a particular stream, like Moxon Creek coming through town. So the funding that we spend on these gauges every year is well worth it. I can think of in my time here at least half a dozen times, if not more, probably more than that, I guess, if you really got down to thinking about it, that we use these gauges to help us predict extent of flooding and that kind of stuff. So very important part of our kind of our flood fighting arsenal, I guess you would say.
And county actually pays for half of this portion, so we pay for it, then we bill the county back for it.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Reinbold and a second from Councilman Norvstrup. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Nelson as it relates to this funding agreement? So our portion will only be about 8,000 and change at that stage in the game.
I think it's about 11,000.
Oh, I see. The bigger portion is ours.
It's
Got it.
half of that 23, whatever.
It's a little more complicated than that, but we pay for some real-time monitoring for stuff out by the water plant, along with the 18,000. I think there's like 5,000 and then the other part for the stream gauging, so. We'll bill the county for their portion.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob. We've got our motion or second. Any questions from the council?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead,
I was just
Councilwoman.
gonna let everybody know you can see all these stream gauges live.
Oh, really?
On the internet, yeah. And it shows you what level they're at all the time, and there's maps, and you can click on the dots, and it's really exciting.
So if we could only get one of those for trains, I think the public would be thrilled. All right, then.
I just never thought about who paid for them before.
Yeah, it's just us. Don't worry about it. Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Norvstrup,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Fauberg,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Next, we've got the recommendation to award bids for the 2023/2024 snow removal services. Stu?
So, you can see all the prices on the attached paperwork here. Believe that Jeremy thinks that this is an adequate, response. I think you can look at the overview there, and it talks about towing. After receiving the bids, he reached out to the other towing companies in town and has gotten response from them. So I believe that we'll be pretty well covered for snow removal, even though after last year, I don't think we would really want to see another snow removal anytime in the near future.
I'll move to approve the recommendation to award the bids for the snow removal services as presented.
I'll second that.
I've got a motion from Councilman Ronayne and a second from Councilwoman Liebelt. Does anyone have any questions? Stu, how do they compare with last year's bid numbers?
I'd have to check and get back to you on that.
Okay. Could have taken a look myself, I guess, for that matter. Anything else from the council? All right, Jordan?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Fauberg,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Norvstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Thank you for joining us, Stu. Appreciate it. Next, we've got the possible approval of a grant titled 5310, as well as one titled 5311, which will be the approval of some agreements here tonight. We've got Transportation Director Rich Kroepel. Rich, what could you tell us about those?
Yes, thank you. We've received our 2023-2024 grant agreements for our 5310 and 5311 grants. We are looking at grant 5310, the amount is $240,000, and that's for the replacement of 2 vehicles, and grant 5311 is in the amount of $381,338.67, and that's for operating and administrative costs. And we're asking for city manager to sign the agreements.
I'll move to approve all 5 grants.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Ronayne, second from Councilman Norvstrup. Any questions for Mr. Kroepel? All right, Jordan?
Just a correction.
Go ahead.
The counselor made a motion to approve 5 grants.
2.
That's my next line item.
2.
2? Okay, sorry. Didn't mean to.
I misspoke. Thank you.
Okay.
Have you got that, Jordan? Thank you. All right,
Coun-
Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote?
Councilmember Norvstrup,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Foberg,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Mayor Shonneman.
Aye, motion carries. Next, we've got the approval of those 5 grants, and these will be for Ride Line to extended manufacturing issues and remaining funds. Rich?
Yes, this is to extend the period of performance for the 5 grants noted. Grant 811-953 in the amount of $33,000. Grant 812-037 for the amount of $21,600. Grant 812038 in the amount of $24,225. Grant 811-843 in the amount of $202,930.40. And grant 812039 for the amount of $80,000. And some of these are for vehicle purchases as noted. The others are for cameras and maintenance. And we're asking city manager to sign for the 5 grant extensions.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilwoman Folberg and a second from Councilwoman Liebelt. And how many more buses are we hoping to retrieve in total, Rich?
All of them. We've got some buses that are pretty old. We've got a 2006, we've got a 2008. They're pretty high mileage buses, but we actually did take receipt of a 14-2 today. We received our 8+2 a couple of weeks ago, and we're still waiting on a 16-2 that will be delivered, I think, at the end of this week.
And we were hoping to get a little bit more use even out of those older ones.
Oh, we've been getting a lot of use out of them. Yeah.
All right, any questions from the council for Transportation Director, Mr. Croak? All right, Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Foberg,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norvstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shonneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Thanks
Thank
for
you,
joining us,
Council.
Rich. Next, we've got a request to declare abandoned bicycles surplus property and to donate those to the Lions Club here in Aberdeen. We've got Chief McNeil to tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So the Lions Club continues their nonprofit work in our community with the bike rehabilitation program. They reached out to us again, wondering if they can acquire some more bikes that are on our lost and found surplus inventory. So I'm asking you to allow us to surplus some of these bikes so they can continue with their work and putting these back together and getting them to the people that need them.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion, Councilwoman Liebelt, second, Councilman Reinbold. Dave, what kind of an effort do we make to put forward to get these bikes back to their original owners in the first place?
Yeah, so it's a great question. A lot of times, if there's no identifying component on the bike to return that to a person, unfortunately, there's no way to learn of an owner or find that owner. So our bikes are on the racks for a considerable time. For instance, right now we have 2 racks that are probably 60 feet long and they're full of bikes. Of course, we didn't have a surplus auction last year, but a lot of the bikes go unreturned. A lot of times they're painted and the serial numbers are not readable. So it's unfortunate, but I appreciate the nonprofits using these to the city's benefit.
That if a person in the community lost a bike and they reached out to the police department, you'd show them the bikes that they had available
Yeah.
and try to connect it with its
Yep, great
rightful
question.
owner.
Yep, we'd take them out there and help them try to find their bike.
Thanks, Dave. All right, we've got our motion, we've got our second. Any other questions from the council? All right, then all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next, we've got a discussion of a non-renewal of cannabis dispensary permits. And here to talk to us is City Attorney Ron. City Attorney Ron, what have you got for us?
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to notify the council that we have 4 potential cannabis dispensary permits that it may issue. And I wanted to give a little history to the council so you know where we're coming from. Back in 2022, the council issued 6 permits 3 to Genesis Farms, and then 1 each to Dakota Herb, Blue Sunrise, and BWD of Aberdeen. And I don't know if you'll recall, but there was some delays in issuing registration certificates by the state. And so we did ask the council last year to extend those permit renewal dates to coincide with the state registration certificates. All of those permits needed to be active and used within the last year, within at least 12 months prior to their renewal expiration time. Of the 6, only 2 were able to open their stores and begin operations. Those are Dakota Herb and Genesis Farms, and they opened in June and July of just this past summer. So as you can tell, there were some difficulties that these companies were encountering, and I assume navigating through the regulatory hurdles that the state was putting up, maybe securing product. But in any event, it took a while for them to open, and we were only had 2 of the 6 that actually opened up, and those have only been for a couple of months. And so now we have 4 available permits by our ordinance. And what we're coming to, I should also notify the council that I have had inquiries from at least 2 interested persons inquiring about what the council is going to do with issuing new permits. And so I wanted to bring this to your attention, tell you that we're not sure whether the council is wanting to go forward and how they want to go forward with notifying and possibly publishing notice of availability of permits and setting some kind of a deadline to look at applications. But we wanted to just apprise the council that there is the potential for 4 new permits. I also think you need to be aware that the $10,000 initial permit fee that was provided by all of the permittees, that basically is gone. So that means you had companies that, notwithstanding a $10,000 permit, had made a decision for whatever reason that they weren't going to renew, they weren't going to move forward with a store. So the council needs to, I think they need to have a discussion on a couple of options. One is to decide whether they want to move forward with advertising for potentially issuing permits, and if so, how many permits? Does the council want to make the full 4 additional permits available and just entertain applications and then move forward as they come in and award as it deems fit? Or is the council interested in maybe revisiting the number of cannabis dispensary permits? And if so, charging staff with providing you with some information about what we're seeing in other cities, what the 2 existing stores are willing to provide us by way of information showing the strength of their sales or the weakness of their sales. But whether the council is simply wanting to open the doors again and let potentially 4 new permits be issued, or if you have something else you'd like us to look at.
So presumably you've had some discussion with Genesis, one of the open dispensaries, and
Yep.
so they don't have interest in, I mean, they're past the deadline, so they can't open the additional ones that they had permitted for.
Right, in fact, of the 4 that were non-renewed, 2 of those were Genesis Farms. So
Right.
Genesis Farms opened 1, and their location is in the northern part of Aberdeen near, I'll say, Shriver's Memorial. And then Dakota Herb opened the other, and theirs is in the eastern section of the city near Target area.
And then the other 2, you've had communication, Dakota Sunrise and BWD.
Yeah, I had heard from BWD fairly early that they would not be renewing. Did not hear from Dakota Sunrise, but these 4 permits did not get renewed. There was no follow-up application, no follow-up renewal application fees.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, be interested to hear what the rest of the council says, but if 6 was a good number for us earlier, I don't see why that would have changed. We'll kind of see how those 2 new potential applications would go. Does anyone have any thoughts that they'd like to share from the council?
I have some questions, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, sorry.
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
I was just curious, so we can't tell what the sales tax is off of the ones that are already open?
The sales tax data would only be available through the SIC category, and I don't know with so few retailers that it would be a category that they'd report. The Department of Revenue doesn't report when there's not enough competition within one category, so they don't show the individual sales.
Yeah, we would only be able to get information showing active sales within the last 12 months. So we could do that if they come to us for renewal next time. But it would be essentially voluntary if we were to approach either of those 2 businesses and ask for general information.
I'm sure that they all want new competition.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
and I'm curious if, before we consider approving additional, licenses or requests for people that might be interested in the licenses, if we could revisit the question of the zoning and where permissible building is for these dispensaries. I mean, I think the 2 that are currently in position are pretty innocuous, like you don't walk by and have them fly right in your face, but I'm wondering where the other places are where building would be allowed, and if it's something we could look at again as the city's continued to grow since those decisions were made and new neighborhoods have been created. I just think it'd be good to look at that at the same time.
Yeah, and that was one of the areas that we'd had a heck of a lot of discussion on, and you should be able to find the map on our website of
Yeah.
exactly outlining where they're permittable.
I
But
have
there was a
seen that.
distance from churches, there was a distance from parks, there was quite a lot of criteria that went into it. In fact, I don't think that anything that would have been permittable would have been changed due to new neighborhoods being built.
Yeah, I don't know.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Did we retain the $60,000 deposits, and so we're ahead of the game there?
We're ahead of the game. Yeah, we had $40,000 of permits that were issued, and those entities did not open.
Non-returnable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
non-refundable.
I guess as far as philosophically, I mean, how do you, if you were to have their sales numbers, you make a decision based on what you think that they should be able to generate in revenue, or how does that conversation happen?
I'm just curious if there's even need for it. If they're busy, if they're, if there's going to be demand for them, then do you change how much you're asking for? I don't know. Obviously, there wasn't demand for the 4 that were already issued. So
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
my first initial thought too was, is there demand for it? But then the more I thought about it, we issued the 6 for a reason. And then, the 2 people who inquired are inquiring fully knowing that the other 2 are in business and that there could be a potential of 4 more. And the other 2 that are in business obviously open knowing that there were 6 licenses. So at this point, I don't really see why there'd be a reason to change it or spend a ton of time on trying to gather numbers that might be hard to get. But I think that we can open it up, and I don't know that we need to advertise it. Is that required? But I think we can take the applications if people want to apply, and then we can make choices as they come in.
Yeah, that's how the system would go if no other decision was made, right? Just new
Right.
applications come in, we'd approve them.
Right, we would just essentially let the world know that we have available permits, and as those come in, we would consider them and bring them to the council.
I think that's the simplest way to do it.
I do too, and it's not like we go around asking car washes for how much revenue they do to
That's
find out if
That's
another
right.
car wash should be
And
able
if
to be in
nobody
town.
renews at the end of whatever period, we'll know it didn't go well.
Could we take a wait and see approach and see kind of how the other businesses do, even if we don't know the numbers? But there's an argument that it could be a negative impact on the community. So the more number of these you have, the more of the potential negative impact there is. And there could be a positive impact, somebody could argue too, and somebody could argue there's no impact. But could we just kind of wait and see since it's only been a few months?
So, Ron, we would have to do something to prevent people from being able to apply for new licenses at this point, since these have expired?
Correct. So what's happened is I've notified the two interested persons, and I actually haven't heard from one for several months. But I have had one person that's been following up fairly regularly. And I notified them that I would be bringing this to the council, and then I would let them know whether a decision was made to go ahead and establish some kind of a public notice and a deadline, or if the council was looking at maybe reconsidering the number of permits it'll issue. And in the absence of either of those, then I would just tell them that they can apply whenever they feel like it, and we'll just bring them to the council as they come to us.
Right, that'd be my vote. I don't think that we need to be telling what businesses can come and what businesses can go, and they'll figure it out if there's a market there, or if they've overextended themselves. Let's not get in the way of progress.
Well, Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, David.
as a business person, I'm kind of conflicted because I don't like government saying the number of businesses, but this is a different product than a car wash or a pizza place or whatever. So I'm not sure if it's the best thing for Aberdeen to have 6. And I wasn't part of that discussion when you guys picked 6. That was before I got on the council. So I don't know. I don't have enough information to say 2's the right number or 6 is the right number, or somewhere in between. But I think.
Well, how would 3 be worse than 2?
What's that?
How would 3 be worse than 2? I mean, would
well,
certain people not drive across town to the one that
that's
exists
true.
if there was
People
one in
can-
the other part of town?
Well, yeah, people could drive, but we at one point, well, I guess we, at one point we had dollar loan places very frequently, and obviously the state law changed and that went away. But there's just, I don't know, there's some types of businesses that I'm not excited about having in Aberdeen, which is a weird thing for a business person to say, but I guess I would like to see that map that Aaron was asking about too, because that would also change my opinion a little bit. 'Cause
Sure.
I wasn't part of that discussion.
Right, I understand.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
so I just want to make sure that I'm understanding. We don't necessarily have to do it, right? We could just leave it be, and if you or Aaron or anybody of that matter wants to then create something to change. So we're not going to drop the number of licenses. We can do that, correct? It doesn't have to, like, this isn't what, like, right now in this moment tonight, we could just leave it the same for now until we have further discussions.
Right, the whole thing is an ordinance, right?
Correct.
So we could make an amendment to an ordinance which would change the number of permitted applications. We could make an adjustment to the ordinance which would change the distance in which a person could have one in relation to parks and so forth.
Okay, so
If
we don't
nothing
have to do it,
happens-
like, right now, we're just talking about, there's nothing on the table.
Say it one more time, Councilwoman.
I said there's nothing on, like, there's nothing on the table, though. We're just, basically, Ron's just telling us that this is,
Exactly.
what's going on. Okay.
This is an appraisal, I think we'll call it. Okay, so we'll get the maps to you, and I guess I'll touch base a little bit later on this week to find out if you think that if there's other information that could be gathered to that would cause you to think that there was a need to make an amendment to the ordinance itself, and then we'll kind of move from there.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask one more question?
Please.
Ron, does the ordinance tell us how, like, after year 1, what happens, or, because it sounds like from what you're saying and from what I remember reading, but it's been a year since I looked at it, that year 1, this is how we're gonna roll them out, and then what's supposed to happen after year 1? Was the assumption when the ordinance was written is that all 6 would be built, and so we didn't need to think about this point?
No, the assumption is that having received a permit issued by the city, it needs to be actively used in every year that it's valid.
Okay.
So you would have to show that 30 days of active sales for a 12-month period in each year before you could get renewed.
All right, any other discussion before, we'll go ahead, Justin?
Chief, have you seen any issues with these businesses so far? These two that are operating? Any calls to these businesses or any concerns?
No, I haven't. The first one that opened, they graciously let me in to take a tour, and I saw it was a very presentable business that looked like a professional setting with the security and everything. And then, to my knowledge, we haven't had any problems at all.
Thank you. I think the way we wrote this stuff to begin with, I mean, these are going to be very professional businesses. This isn't the recreational stuff. This is more of a pharmacy, you know, and I feel very comfortable with where we have stuff right now as far as the 6 licenses for $10,000. So,
Yeah, I think we came up with that number thinking that it's probably more than was able to function profitably here in town, but why would the city decide how many of these businesses could operate? If there's one, you're gonna have the problems that David's afraid of, but if there's 2, I don't see how that could possibly compound it, because everyone can easily drive or walk 5 minutes across this community and get to one store. One, kind of opens up the floodgates. If there's problems, it sounds like there's not, so I can't imagine how more would be a problem, except for perhaps splitting limited revenue. And in fact, in the other states that had permitted this previous to South Dakota, we looked at Iowa and we looked at North Dakota, and it didn't look like sales were going to be incredibly strong at these ones that required a prescription. It looked like everyone was kind of just holding their places in the hopes that we would get recreational marijuana where the real profit comes in.
And my questions, I was maybe giving an indication of where people might think I am, but I'm still trying to figure it out, because I wasn't part of the discussion it was before I was on the council, so I'm still trying to form my opinion over here. So I just need more information, and I appreciate the chief's perspective, because that matters a lot.
Sure. And I will make sure that you can get your hands on that map, and it is published on our website, and it is down to the area. We had a GIS guy working for us at the time where we went through that whole rigmarole, so it's very, very complete map. All right, so if there's nothing else from the council as it relates to selling pot for people with prescriptions, we will move along to our presentation on fall programming for Northern Innovation and Startup Center at Northern State University by B. Smith. B, welcome.
Hello there. Well, thank you all for allowing me the opportunity to present tonight. My name is B. Smith, and I'm the director of the Northern Innovation and Startup Center on the campus of Northern State University. We are here to support not only the Aberdeen community, but all of northeastern South Dakota, providing an opportunity for individuals with big ideas or visions to turn them into a venture. I provided you all with a letter and our scope of work, which was outlined in our initial fund request back in 2022. And you can see with each of those activity areas, just the progress up to today's date in each of those spots, as well as our fall programming. So you can see this lovely sheet right here of all of the upcoming events that we have at the Startup Center. So we launched a number of different startup programs and workshops, providing opportunities to quickly learn specific startup skills. Again, the specific topic areas are outlined in that letter, but we have had anywhere from 11 to 21 individuals in attendance for each of those workshops, not only in person, but also via Zoom, as all of our programming is offered in high flex delivery mechanisms, which allows flexibilities for participants to participate in each. We have a workshop this Thursday for video production, which is a 2-hour tutorial on all things video production. And we have over 20 individuals already signed up for that. We also host ideation workshops. Both our ideation and incubation programs were developed by Northern State University entrepreneurship faculty members. So our ideation will guide participants through the ideation process. So if they have a bunch of different ideas, let's get them down to one idea. We actually hosted that workshop last Thursday, and we had 10 individuals in attendance. And then this upcoming Thursday, we start our 2023 ideation program. So what that is it's an 8-week program that has participants in there idea. And by the end of the 8 weeks, they will have a business plan. Again, we have 17 individuals signed up for that. And this past summer, we used it as an opportunity to create an online module through Google Classroom, allowing participants the flexibility to participate whenever they have time in the Start Anytime method. And then last, I'd like to remind you all about the NSU Idea Pitch Competition coming up on November 16th. That event is open to the public, and it's an opportunity for Northern State University students to pitch their ideas. They're not only Northern's involved in that, but also other community partners, so there are cash prizes on the line. And the goal for the Startup Center is to engage our entire community and one day hopefully have a community-wide idea pitch competition. One other thing that I need to mention is our Technology and Entrepreneurship Summit, which is coming up on November 15th. We're bringing in keynote speaker Dr. Radhika Dirks, who's a trailblazer in harnessing the power of AI to drive groundbreaking innovation. So I would invite you all to that. And for more information on our upcoming program and events, check out our website at northernstartupcenter.com. And with that, I will open it up to you all for any questions you may have.
Welcome, B. Thanks for your presentation. How long have you been over there?
This would be the start of week 6, so not very long.
Things are going pretty well, it sounds like. You've got quite a few events under your belt in that amount of time.
Yes, and then looking ahead to the spring, you can see in front of you is just our fall programming. So our goal is before the end of December to have all of our spring programming scheduled out, so that way our attendees can see the full lineup for each semester.
Thank you, B. Any other questions from the council as it relates to the Northern Innovation and Startup Center?
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Councilor.
Do you have, of the 17 that are signed up for the ideation, the 8-week ideation, is that what you said?
Yes.
How many are Northern related and how many are from the community?
Yes, so I pulled that report and I want to say that there were 4 Northern students or with the @northern.edu email because as you can see from the progress section, we track everything down to the specifics of those individuals. So I would assume that those are Northern students, but I can't make that.
That's great that there's so much community involvement already too. And then I just want to give a shout out about Radhika Dirks. If anyone was at LeaderCast last May, she was one of the presenters for LeaderCast, which is live streamed, but this is real life human. She's going to be here on campus, so that's pretty amazing.
She'll be our keynote lunch speaker, so you can eat lunch and listen to her.
And so tell us about like the involvement costs of the community members that are taking advantage of your incubation program. Like Councilman Folberg had brought up, is there a cost involved with them or how does that work?
There's no cost involved. As hopefully you all know, we are funded through an EDA grant through the Center on Rural Innovation as well as a community match, which thank you to the city for your support in that. All of our programming except the summit is completely free to attend. And let's say an individual does sign up for one of our workshops and life happens and they can't make it in person, we do have the ability to send them the session after the fact as well.
Thank you again, B. Always good to see you. Any other questions from the council? All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming in. I did skip one agenda item over that was actually attributed to me, so I'm going to take advantage of this moment to take a look at that. That will be the confirmation of an appointment to the Aberdeen Housing Authority Board for a 5-year term of Mr. Clark Thayers. Clark being one of the original guys up at Primrose, quite the interesting guy, and I think he'll provide a lot of good insight with his knowledge of retirement community and so forth to the housing board. So if someone would be so inclined, I'd be happy to take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Northrup, second from Reinbold. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Casey, you're up. We've got the presentation on marketing convention and visitors, or marketing at the Convention and Visitors Bureau by Mr. Casey Wiseman, their executive director. Always a pleasure to see Casey here at our meeting. Casey, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing us to come and, excuse me, present our vacation marketing for 2023. I'm just going to give you guys a brief wrap up of what we've been working on. It's been an extensive summer. Kind of feels like everybody has lost out on the month of May, trying to regain some of that visitor traffic that comes to the community, working events, hosting events. But I do have a packet in front of you. If you could follow along or have any questions as we go, please feel free to reach out. Robin and Tiffany have access to that as well. So we will discuss the vacation advertising, the vacation social media, vacation analytics, 2023 occupancy fee, SIC codes, Aberdeen area events, and what do visitors think of Aberdeen. Kind of a fun thing to add at the end. If you look, our vacation marketing, we have some categories laid out: our print marketing, our radio marketing, digital marketing, video marketing, and email marketing. As you can see, the campaigns associated with those. A campaign could be as little as a radio ad, or it could be a print ad in a magazine, but we call them campaigns, or basically an effort on behalf of the Aberdeen CVB to market vacation travel to Aberdeen. Print marketing, looking at 15 campaigns, the impressions associated with that. Radio, one campaign, and the impressions associated with that as well. Digital marketing, something we're going to focus on a little bit more next year versus this year. We kind of played off of print a little bit heavier this year, trying to get that organic roots, but we've quickly seen that digital is the way to go. But digital marketing, 5 campaigns with the impressions associated. Video marketing, the 2 campaigns that ran 6 months and the impressions that went with that. Email marketing are newsletters that Catherine sends out of our office. She usually does that twice a month. 19 campaigns there with an open rate of almost 25% and a click-through rate of 1.75. And you can see the industry standard is 19 and 1%. Social media, Facebook still seems to be the platform that everybody connects with the Convention of Visitors Bureau on. We are playing with more impressions on Instagram, and Twitter just really doesn't seem to be working for the CVB. But Facebook and Instagram being the two, especially Facebook. But our focus was for new engagement, looking to engage with different areas we may or may not have engaged with before. Impressions there for vacation marketing, 2,655,000 impressions for Facebook, and just under 83,000 impressions for Instagram. And again, like I said, the focus, we have our base, our Aberdeen residents and surrounding residents that follow us and interact with us on social media. We're kind of looking to branch out to new areas where we haven't quite reached before. Website analytics is a confusing critter, none the least. Last year, the Google Analytics switched over from their, Travis, you can help me out on this a little bit, their traditional platform to the G4 platform.
That's right.
And, that took an effect. What does that mean? It's kind of garble-gook, at times. It still measures your Google Analytics throughout the year, but then they switched to a G4 platform, which is a little bit more targeted. But that came online in May of 2022. So we really had nothing to gauge against for January through May of 2022 as it went live in May of 2022. So we went with the old analytics and looking at new users, sessions, page views, users, sessions per user, and unique page views. You can see the numbers were down. The numbers were down comparing ourselves to the old analytic platform, because basically we have nothing to gauge the new G4 platform for 2022 from January through the end of April. But looking at our old analytics, new users were down 7.2%, sessions were down 11%, page views were down just under 10%, users, return users, were down 6.5%, sessions per user were down just under 5%, and unique page views were down 11%. And again, decrease never sounds good, or below never sounds good, but when you think about we're still trying to target that new visitor to Aberdeen, knowing we have a pretty substantial base of potential visitors that already do come to the area or are connected with us. Occupancy fee, again, that is a $2 fee that is paid on top of a hotel room anytime a hotel is rented in Aberdeen. And you can look at the engagement through the month of July. We have the numbers reported, and then I actually break those out. I like numbers. I break those out per month, per hotel, per day. So you can see our traffic trending, February and March, May and June being stronger months compared to the same time last year. And then again, January and April and July were slightly behind last year. And again, that is a $2 fee that is paid on top of a hotel room that was rented. So that, in our eyes, is our best way or our best gauge of metric of tracking a true visitor that comes to Aberdeen. Potentially, Aberdeen residents are probably not going to rent a hotel room, even though it happens, but this gives us our true tracking metric of visitors that come to the area. SIC codes, again, Jordan, you love those things as much as I do. Those are taxable receipts that the city reports to the state. And we track the BBB or the promotional funds, lodging, eating, and drinking. You'll see numbers there as well. Lodging, eating, and drinking are both broke out separately. You can kind of look at those as a month-to-month comparison to the same month of the prior year. But if we fast forward to the overall year-to-date, you'll look at the month of February, March, June, July, and August. We're all tracking ahead of last year. So again, our metric of SIC codes, we refer to that as money that is being spent in the community of Aberdeen, that circulates in the community of Aberdeen. And sometimes that money can circulate anywhere from 3 to 7 times, depending on the event, the intent, and the reception of those funds. So again, those are taxable receipts that the city promotes or reports to the state. Aberdeen area events, notables for 2023. It was so far already, it's been a busy year. Aberdeen Swim Club tournaments, Cougar Hockey, Wings Hockey, South Dakota Clay Target Championship, South Dakota High School Activities, Girls State Softball, first ever, BMX Gold Qualifier, BMX Championship, Storybook Land, Arts in the Park, Family Fun, State B Tournament, Hub City Soccer, AAU Wrestling, if everybody remembers AAU Wrestling, and then also the Midwest Wrestling Duels right along with that. And then also the South Dakota State Trap Shoot, the Special Olympics coming up yet this year, and then many, we've hosted, I think, 3 men's and women's softball tournaments this year already, most notably being the Rec League, which is the largest of their events. And then along with that, I do have a list. I added it to your packet as well of other notables. I won't read them all, but I kind of highlighted some of the larger ones in bold. Those are the ones that involve a little bit extensive work on our end, extensive promotion, and then also may draw a particularly larger crowd to Aberdeen. What do visitors think of Aberdeen? You can kind of read those there. There's some good one. Great kids experience, been coming for several years. Love it every time. We camp at the RV park from Bigelow, Minnesota. Kids love Storybook Land, all the rides. The levity is a hit in the winter. From North Dakota. Again, Storybook Land, Jack and the Beanstalk, Rapunzel's Castle. This one I really kind of took a lot of pride in. The people in Aberdeen are so friendly and respectful. And Aberdeen hospitality is something that we hang our hat on, and that was good that people are starting to recognize that as well. But these are what the visitors are saying about us. These are what the visitors are saying about their experience here, and there's some notables, and we love to track those. With that, the Hotel Alliance, we also partner with the Hotel Alliance, and so far to date, events, which would be the swim club, hockey, wrestling, the Aqua Addicts, Pheasants Forever, the Gun Club, and so forth. They have circulated almost $60,000 in funding for events that are held in the Aberdeen area, and that's just to date in 2023. So again, that's another aspect of our job that probably doesn't get reported on all that often, but it does take up time. And anytime we have interaction with events or interaction with Joe Public, we definitely want them to appreciate how much we enjoy having them in Aberdeen. So any question? I know I went through this really quickly. I'm just trying to be respectful on time, but any questions that anybody has that I could definitely try to answer?
Casey, do you have a sense, we're taking a look at this vacation marketing.
Yes.
And you've got a bunch of great big numbers for us. How do those compare to previous years? Looks like your click-through rates compared to industry standards are pretty good. These numbers look huge to me. Are they in good shape compared to last year, or how are we doing?
I think we're doing okay. Like I said, the best page to follow that up with is the analytics. All the efforts you put forth with digital, print, radio, video marketing, again, with that focus of the new visitor, we might not be getting, me and Catherine had a discussion about this today. It's frustrating at times because you hang your hat and you can boast on the quantity, but you're really kind of looking for that quality. So we're kind of looking forward or branching out, trying to find that unique visitor that hasn't been exposed to Aberdeen. Those numbers are a little bit down, with the analytics, and then not having the G4 analytics from January through April gives us something not to compare to. But as far as the vacation marketing goes, it falls right in line with what we had before. And I do have the 2022 year-to-dates loaded on that website if you want to go back and slightly compare those.
Sure.
This, again, was just vacation marketing through August. So
the other thing I was going to make mention of while you were talking there, I took a look at the total from those 3 SIC codes that provide us the full BBB revenue, and I added them up 2022 versus this year so we get an idea of the cumulative from January through August. And thankfully, it looks like we're just about 0.5% above, so that number is definitely moving in the right direction, even though it's a little bit tough to tell with this chart. But good work on that. It's good to have that.
And we do have more information in the office. Like I said, we're kind of information. We love numbers, but I do have information that I get from South Dakota Tourism, which is loaded to your website as well. The arrivalist information kind of gives you a good sense of why are people coming or where they're coming from, where are they visiting while they're on their way here, where are they visiting on their way home. But South Dakota Tourism has a dashboard that we just gained access to last week. And on that dashboard, it gives us numbers where we can break it down by county, and we can break it down triple B, and I think they're tracking us right around 2% above where we were last year. So that's good. And they may have different numbers that they're working with as well. But, taking all that information into consideration, all the events that we host, Hotel Alliance, the staff has done an amazing job working with social media. It seems like Facebook changes their platform every other day, and adjusting with that as well. We've been working hard in the office, and I think the numbers may, sometimes they don't always reflect that, but I think you'll look at the events that we're hosting, and looking forward to 2024 looks stronger yet. So,
thank you, Casey. And one last point that I would make, I guess, is I've been seeing a lot of that hunting ad that you guys put the video on your Facebook page, and that looks amazing.
Yeah,
it's really good. So,
yep.
Tying in with the states.
And with that being said, not to market hunting, we're here for vacation, but Catherine is hosting our third annual pup crawl, PUP pup crawl, on this Thursday at Malchow Plaza from 4 to 7. So if you are dog-minded or a dog lover, please come down and enjoy that event. There'll be some vendors down there. It's free to attend. Aberdeen Wings will be there serving hot dogs. It's all free will donation. All the money goes to Pet Rescue League and the Humane Society. And then again, I wanted to thank Guy Trenhill. He's our past president. Dawn Thorstensen, she's with the Parks and Rec. She's also on our executive board. And we've been working hard with Parks and Rec throughout the year as well, hosting meetings throughout the summer. So we're not missing anything. We want to make sure that we're fully engaged with them and that we can take their information and hit the ground running. Some other notables, I know I ramble, I apologize, but notables that we also have this year, we partnered with NSU with their Howl Days. If anybody's familiar with that, incoming freshmen come up to NSU and tour the campus and get a sense of the community of Northern. We are there to hand out Aberdeen information, Aberdeen visitor guides, our fun books, which they love coupons. But we're there to engage with them because anytime you can get them off campus to experience what Aberdeen has to offer, chances are, hopefully, cross your fingers, they will engage with Aberdeen and potentially stay longer. So maybe future residents, I don't know, but we're trying. So.
Thank you, Casey. Any other questions from the council?
I just have one question.
Okay, ma'am.
I guess it's two
Councilman?
questions. One is retargeting. Are you doing some retargeting ads?
I didn't put the information in here, but we're super excited with the company we get to work with. Love Communications. It's a cooperative effort with South Dakota Tourism. It's kind of a 40,000 buy-in, 40,000 match. But to date, they've been amazing to work with. But they're the only company that's ever given us the information to say, hey, here's what happened after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
When you host a print ad or a digital ad, they can give you reach and they can give you impressions. But this company it's crazy how they do it. But they're able to break it down and come around on the backside and say, this person saw your ad in April, whatever, and they waited a couple months and then they booked.
Mm-hmm.
So they're searching you out after the fact, and they can still track them and target them after the fact. So yes.
Glad to hear you're doing that, even though it's creepy.
It is strange. So be careful what you look at on social media, I guess, but they'll find you.
Yeah, you don't even have to click. It's just measuring how much your eyes spend time on it.
Yep.
Okay.
You had another question?
Yeah, I think my other question was about CVB and the Aberdeen area events, and it's a question that's been just like pondering in my brain, and it's not a request or a demand or anything like that, but I just wonder if it would be helpful. I keep wondering, it's something we talked about that first meeting I went to for Hotel Alliance, would it be helpful if Aberdeen had like some marquee events that always got funding from the Hotel Alliance? Because it's hard when they're volunteer run to then restart every year and recreate the wheel. And these organizations don't know that there's a deadline, or they don't know that there's, and I think some of these things that are great events might be able to get better and better and better each year if they had some base funding they could rely on for an amount of time. So I'm not telling you what to do.
No,
I'm not asking you to do it, but I'm asking if you look into it, if it's been successful, if there's any standards from other communities where it's been really successful to do that.
And we do work with them extensively. And just an example, you'll host, I don't know, I see Guy, he's with Hardball, or was back in the day. You'll have the connection with Aberdeen Hardball, and they'll be hosting a tournament. And then next year will be a new board president.
Right.
And you wish that they would hand them, I used the word, three-ring binder. You wish they would hand them, the 3-ring binder saying, here's the operating manual for whatever, but it never happens. So on our end, with the criteria, the guidelines, and the restrictions of the Hotel Alliance, they have to have their information into us at least 3 months prior to the event in order for them to request funding. And really, we're trying to maybe up that even further. With our understanding and the extensive work that we do with our contact, we call them leads, but our contact, it's a new face every year. I mean, every year it's a new face. So we sit down, we educate them, but with that being said, we also put that bug in their ear of the 3-ring binder, or pass it on, or let's circle back and approach 3 months or 6 months prior to your event, because really I hate to see, like you had mentioned, a marquee event that happens every year. We're working in our office right now trying to connect the dates for 2024 for those key events, and we utilize those in Glacial Lakes and Prairie Tourism, and we utilize those in the state tourism guide. One thing Aberdeen does fall short on is when we're hosting an event, we don't have next year's date already picked out.
Exactly.
And I'm not picking on anybody, but like, let's say Sizzlin' Summer Nights Car Show, we're hosting it this year. Why not have an A-frame in the middle of the street that people have to walk around that says next year's dates on it?
Right.
Because then again, that would allow us to capture that information, work with that contact to make sure that they have plenty enough time for funding request. And on our end, it's kind of a win-win. They're not allowed to request funding unless they go through us, because then we're able to capture the information we need, i.e. the calendar of events, or even just working our lead. Once we've captured our information, we allow them to present to the hotel lines. So I wish there was an easy button or a way to navigate that easier, but we're trying hard on our end, yeah.
Thanks.
Because we understand those key events are the staples that repeat visitors, as you can see of what people think about us, they come back for every year, so.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Casey. Appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you.
Looks like good work all around, so genuinely appreciate your hard efforts over there. Keep it up. All right, so with that, we will move along to our final vote of the night, which will be to review and approval of our claims and payrolls. We've got bills for this week. We've got payroll for the period of September 10th through the 23rd.
I'll move to approve the payment of the bills and payroll.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Ronayne and a second from Councilman Reinbold. Jordan, would you give us a final roll call vote of the evening, please?
Councilmember Norvstrup.
Aye.
Reinbold.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Fauberg.
Aye, except for the service charge to Dakota Bank.
Councilmember Ronayne.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Next, we've got our city manager's report, and here to give that is Mr. Robin Bobzien. Robin?
Sometime in the past week, you may have received a notice of an annual water test, and it appears it might be something that you're supposed to do, that the city's requesting you to do. This is actually a private group. I see that that's to be mailed back to Watertown, I believe, is where these samples are going to. If you look at the small print on the bottom, it says it's not affiliated with the EPA, any city water or county health departments. Really what it is, it's a marketing tool. They're trying to get you to send their water in, then they'll be able to try to convince you to buy a filtration system, a softening system, something like that. So buyer beware. Just wanted to let you know that I've had some calls, some emails. Staff has had some calls today. So, and I'll bet Janelle has probably heard from our folks on third floor a couple times just to verify whether it was us or somebody else. So, if any of your constituents call, you can let them know that it's not us that's requesting these samples that go in. Secondly, the mayor had mentioned the special session for the 10th of October, and I thought that would be an opportunity for us to talk about some of those city staffing things that we had discussed last week during the budget discussion, and start working our way through that process to see how we move forward. So that's all I've got.
Thank you, Robin. If no one else has anything from the council to discuss here, we would take a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Got a motion from Councilwoman Liebelt and a second from Councilman Norvstrup. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you.